I hit the cop. He goes under my truck. I don't even care. Like, I'm just trying to get away. I hit his partner with the front bumper. He goes down. And then from that time, like, it must have been that quick. Like, he jumped up and he just started shooting. He shot like 4 or 5 times, and he hit me once. Went through the windshield, under my left eye, came out my ear.
Welcome back to the Locked In with Ian Bick podcast. On today's episode, we have Eric Paquin here from Massachusetts to share some entertaining stories from his time and life as a career criminal. Thank you to all the listeners that tune in week after week and sit through not only 1, not only 2, but 3 of the Locked In episodes we put out every week. So grateful for all of you guys. Now let's sit back, relax, and get ready to lock in with Eric Paquin. Eric, welcome to Locked In, man. Pleasure having you here today.
Thanks for having me.
You drove up from Massachusetts?
Yep, me and my daughter drove up 2.5 hours.
Now, you're from the area that the town's based off of, right?
Yep, Charlestown, Mass. Born and raised my whole life. Grew up there.
And you got the accent, too.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. I told my daughter, I was like, don't get offended if they bring up your accent.
You have it more than her, though. I haven't really heard it in hers.
Yeah, well, I'm 47. She's 13. But she's been, and I'm out of school. You know what I mean? I'm in the streets, so she's in school learning the right way to talk.
Yeah. So are people born with that accent, or it just comes? How does that work with accents?
It's just the way people talk around me, and I talk, When I moved up to New Hampshire, and I started to talk like that.
Yeah.
I kind of started to lose the accent, but when I moved back to Boston, it just kicks right back in,
I love the accent. It's so great. It really reminds me of the movie The Town.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So I heard you out there. You were talking to Matt about how you've been watching the show for a little while.
Yeah. I just like the fact that you're taking all aspects of it. The law enforcement side, the convict side, the lawyers, all of it.
Yeah.
Probation, everything. Just every aspect, because a lot of people don't know. They're just stereotypes of like they're crooks and they're just bad. That's it.
And it helps people get through it when they see that there's like-minded people and people that were in similar situations.
Absolutely. Especially like just for yourself. It's like, a lot of guys, they go to prison and like they talk about just being that big tough guy. Like I went in there and it's just not always like that,
Yeah.
And like you did what you had to do to do your time, and just like everybody else, and it's good to hear that, you know what I mean? You don't have to be the big, bad, tough guy to go in and do what you have to do to, come out okay.
Yeah, I get so many messages because I read my DMs, and people are always like, oh, this person was full of shit. This doesn't go down in prison. Let me come on and share my perspective of it. And I'm always like, everyone has a different perspective. And if I sat here and called bullshit on every single story, there's no way to prove whether it happened or didn't happen, Let the audience decide.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone has that's the prison world, just like everyone has this different, unique experience.
Especially when different parts of the state.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, country, as far as like out west, down south, like, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want to do time down there. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do time anywhere, but I'm going to be honest with you, I ain't going to break the law down to Florida. It's just not going to happen,
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So when you were growing up, did you have a big family, both parents? What was the living situation like?
So I grew up in Charlestown. Obviously, it's 1 square mile. It's not very big.
That's it? Just 1 mile?
1 square mile. That's it. We have like, 1, 2, 3, 4 churches, 2 police stations. Like, it's crazy, But yeah, I grew up till the age of 7 with my mother, my father. It was just us 3. At the age of 6 or 7, they got divorced. And just like the sad story, everybody's sad story is theirs, but came from living in a, mother, father home in a regular apartment house, whatever, to the projects. Single mother in the projects, and that's doesn't take for a lot of good to come out of that, And so I grew up in the projects from 7 to what was I, probably like 18 when I finally get out of there, you know?
Do you think that if your parents didn't get divorced, you would have lived differently, had a different upbringing?
I feel like a male role model in any home is going to be better than not, you know? Like, it just would have been, yeah. No matter what, it couldn't have been any worse. It's, you know what I mean? But, yeah, so, I mean, I grew up, you know, just like any other kid in the projects, just running around crazy. But back then, everybody knew everybody. You know, you lived in the projects, but there was crime, but you knew everybody, you know? If you walked down the street and you were doing something wrong, your friend's mother's going to slap you in the back of the head and tell you to go home, you know, do what you're supposed to do, you know? But,
Did you get picked on for living where you lived? Bullied?
yeah, nah, I didn't get picked on for that. I got picked on because I didn't have no money. I used to wear the sneakers from Kmart, you know what I mean? The clothes that, you know what I mean, were bought at Kmart. You know, I didn't have the Champion, the Nikes. I didn't have any of that, you know? So, yeah, I got picked on, you know, till I was probably in my teenage years, you know, middle school probably.
Isn't that crazy that these kids pick on kids for the clothes you wear? Like, I look back on it now because I remember people would, if you weren't wearing what the cool kids wear, and I don't wear designer clothes or anything like that now, and I couldn't even think of people picking on someone for that. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I remember the sneakers like they were yesterday. They were called Voits, you know, and I wore them, and like I just got picked on a regular basis, you know. So
I wonder where that mentality even comes from. Like, what triggers in a kid? Like, maybe it comes from the parents, or.
Well, I mean, when you grow up in an area, you know, all my friends and everyone was in the projects. So when you have nothing, right? You have nothing, and then you think that this one thing, you know, gives you something. You know what I mean? You think it gives you status. You know, I have clothes, my parents have money or whatever, and it like distinguishes you from the rest. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I'm better than you, because you got to understand, we're all in the bottom. We're just trying to be better, you know? So that's what so they're going to poke at the stuff that they think is, you know, lower than them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great to be different. You know,
yeah,
to stand out. Like, when I have kids one day, I'll send them to school wearing something outrageously different.
Wear whatever they want.
Exactly. Yeah. I think embrace being different. That's my message to anyone, you know? And I owned that when I was a kid in high school. It was all about being different. And obviously that got me into trouble, but well.
Yeah.
So what kind of kid were you? How would people describe you from that time period growing up?
Quiet, I guess. I was quiet. Reliable. I wanted to be a cop. Like, that's what I wanted to be. Like, I went to school, you know, I did the homework, you know, and I just did everything I was supposed to do. You know, I was afraid of my mother, you know, like, you know, she was the law, you know. But as I got older, you know, I'm on the streets. I don't want to wear I don't want to wear Kmart clothes. Like, I want to be like everybody else, you know. So that's when the how can I make some money, you know, as a kid comes into, like, how can I make you know, in your head you think you're a kid, there's no father, you're the man of the house. Like, how can I do better? How can I get us ahead? Like, how can I get better, you know? And that's when selling stuff comes into play, you know?
Why do you think it automatically went to that?
Well, not automatic, but I felt like I had to do something now. Like, and I got pregnant. I was at 16. I got my first daughter. I was pregnant at 16. Mm-hmm. So it was like
added pressure.
Right. So it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna live at home? Like, you're gonna stay at home with your kid and your wife, and you're gonna just live with your mother? You know what I mean? It's like, you gotta do something. You gotta do it now. You know. And that's when, like, selling drugs and, you know, doing all that stuff, and, you know, you tell yourself that, you know, I'm going to sell them, but I'm not going to do them. Like, I don't need to do the drugs to sell them, you know. And it just doesn't work out that way.
So you don't think there was, like, some kind of influence that would say, hey, why don't you go get a job, do this, do that? Like, why did you think it went directly to drugs as a form of money? Were you inspired by someone? Was there some type of influence?
I grew up, like, in my neighborhood, it's just, you either... And I'm talking about grandmothers. Like, it's either nobody had a job. You know what I mean? You know, your friend's grandmother used to sell her pills out the back door, you know what I mean, out the window, you know, whatever. or your uncle used to do armored cars, or you know what I mean, or does B&Es or whatever. Everybody was a criminal. You know, it's just like everybody I grew up with was like a criminal. So it's like that's what you did. You know what I mean? Like if you went to prison, like people, they thought it was cool. You went to prison and came home, like that's cool. I was like, that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought that was what was supposed to happen. You know.
So do you think if you had grown up in another town, like even just a town a few miles away, do you think it would have been different?
I think if I grew up with different if I with my parents, both parents, and in a home with that, like I wasn't on the streets. Yeah.
So with that logic, do you apply that now to the way you raise your children now, making sure that they're in a different area and not kind of following those same steps?
I wish I could say that they're not in Charlestown. We're currently I'm working on that now. I'm just trying to get my plan is to get them out, completely. But yeah, I would love for my kids not to live in Charlestown. Mm-hmm. It's just not it's not a place conducive to well-being, I guess you can say. Mm-hmm. And I don't want them. And I wish I could. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I wish I raised my kids. My oldest daughter raised my kids. My daughter Kelsey. Because I just got clean 5 years ago, 2018, as when I got clean at that was 6 years ago. So I was 40 years old getting clean. It's embarrassing, but that's sometimes it takes that long. And
what matters is that you are clean.
Yeah, right.
It could be worse if you're sitting here saying I'm 40 something and not clean. Yeah. So there's always a positive aspect to it, Yeah. And it's baby steps, and it's a progress. Progress is everything. As long as you're going forward,
Yeah. Forward, not backwards, is definitely
Exactly. So when you started selling, was that when you were using too?
Yeah, I started. You start taking, take a couple perks on a Friday night. You know what I mean? 16, 17 years old. Yeah, I'll take a couple perks. And then a couple turns into 5. Then 5 turns into 10. Then 10 turns into you're taking 80 perks a day, and then
80.
Back in the worst, before I heard about OxyContin, I used to take 80 perks a day on a regular day basis, easily. Wow. 80 a day.
Can you overdose from Percocets?
Well, it was more of the Tylenol that's in the Percocet.
Okay.
That's why OxyContin was better, because there's no Tylenol in it. It's just the drug. But I'm sure if I took enough of it, it probably would have. But it went from that to then the oxys, they kick in, and then it's all downhill from there.
What was the feeling for you? What was the high that you were getting? Why did you enjoy doing them?
I don't know, all that stress, you take that, and then it doesn't matter. Nothing mattered. Like you took that and your whole body felt great. Mm-hmm. It was just like nothing mattered. It didn't, like all those bills they had to pay. Don't worry, it'll happen. Whatever, it didn't matter. And then you're chasing it, just trying to be like that all day, every day.
What advice would you give your teenage self if you could go back in time before you took that first pill? What would you say?
Run, run. That was the word. I remember it. I remember it was like yesterday. My buddy was like, "Yeah," he's like, "You want to take?" I'm like, "Nah." I used to fight it, and he's like, "Nah." He's like, "You'll love it. You'll love it." I'm like. And then once I did it, he was right. And it was all downhill.
Why do you think you gave in that moment?
It's a bad day, probably. I don't know exactly what, happened that particular day, or if anything was happening that day. I mean, I could have been a great day, and I would just want to celebrate, It gets...
We're all just one bad step away from a lifetime of mistakes in that sense. And
misery.
Yeah. Just that one, when you go back to it and you really dive deep, I mean, you were for the most part, okay.
Yeah.
Until that moment where you decide to try it.
Yeah. And you lose. And I mean, I'm 47 years old, and I'm not even close to where I should be as an adult male. You know what I mean? Like I'm so far behind the 8 ball. It's like, it's tough. Yeah. It's tough.
Did you end up graduating high school?
So when I first, we got pregnant at 16. I was looking at that point, I guess, just for any reason not to go to school. So I stopped going to school. I went directly and took the GED test because I was always smart in school. Like, I wasn't a dumb kid. Like, I could have went somewhere if I, put the work in. And I just wanted the easy way out. So I just took the GED. Of course, I made it an excuse saying, I need to take care of my family. Like, that's the reason why. But in reality, it was just me being able to do more of whatever the fuck I wanted to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I didn't graduate it. I got my GED and then just went to the workforce,
What's the workforce? Is that like a program?
No, just like...
Okay.
Into the world. Into the world, just into the work, doing work, construction, I worked 2 jobs when I had my first kid. I did, I worked 2 jobs. I worked security, and then I worked at McDonald's in the morning for 8 hours, 16 hours a day. I worked.
And were you and the mother still together at that point?
Yep, we were together. We were together for like 20 years. Yeah, so we had our child, and we moved. We ended up having 2 kids. Kelsey was she was probably like 3 years old when we had my second child, Ashley, and we were living in Cambridge, Mass. We had our own place. We were doing good. I was working 2 jobs, and that's, when it started, I was doing good, and that's when the drug use starts, and, 17, 18 years old, here and there drinking, partying, and just, yeah.
Is that when the cop dreams went out the window too?
Oh, yeah, those were gone. I'm probably about, 17, 18 years old. That was, yeah. Once I got my GED, I figured, I was like, yeah, that's it. I figured I'd do construction for the rest of my life, construction or work, whatever, manual labor. I had no ambitions. I was like, I was going to do construction and sell drugs. Like, I was going to be a kingpin. Like, what the? Like,
that was the inspiration of Kingpin.
Yeah, I was going to be, Nino Brown. I was going to be Scarface. Like, that's what you think. Like, you honestly think, like, I'm just going to sell all the drugs in the world and I'm going to be rich. Like, and that's just...
So what happened? Why didn't that work out?
Yeah, it's just because it never does. Like, so, yeah, she throws me out, which makes sense. Like, why would you want some junky piece of shit? You know what I mean? You just don't want that, Mm-hmm. And at the time, she was doing good. She was sober. She didn't do no drugs. She was a mother, She stayed home and did, took care of the kids, slight partying or whatever. But, yeah, so she had to get rid of the dead weight, which was me, And, I just left her, went with someone else, and just continued selling drugs. And actually started selling a lot of drugs in Charlestown for a long time, for a few years. Like, I sold a lot of drugs. And, we did okay, but it's not like I bought a house and moved on. I still lived in the projects, I didn't go nowhere. I was still in that 1 square mile, But, yeah, and it just got worse and worse,
When was the first time you got arrested?
So, the first time I got arrested was, what the fuck was it? Oh, yeah, it was when I got, shot. Actually.
You got shot?
Yeah. So, yeah. So, this is the first time I did time. Like, I never really got into trouble. Like, I never got caught. I always paid. So I would have had someone else carry the drugs. Yeah, I'm not going to do the time. Like, here, you carry the drugs. I'll give you drugs for free. You carry the drugs. You run. So I kind of was, like, careful like that for a while. So I never really gotten any arrests. But, at the end of it, when I was probably like, when I was 21 is when I started doing heroin. That was the age I went from Oxycontin into heroin. And I want to say I was 20. I got shot in the head, so I got my timelines sometimes are messed up. Yeah. So I want to say I was like 24, 25 when I got shot. But, so I woke up sick from, doing, because when you do heroin, you physically get sick, you have no choice. Like, it's not like, oh, maybe I'll get up and get some heroin, It's, no, definitely you're going to get some heroin. It's like, how you're going to get it, So at that point in time, it was just like I would get up and just rob the first person I saw. Like, I'd get up in the morning and just grab a weapon, and the first person I saw would get robbed. And it's sad that that's how I lived, but that's how I lived. And if I didn't see anybody, I'd break into a house. I'd break into your house. I'd break into the neighbor's house. If I knew my neighbor wasn't home, I'd break into his house. Like, I didn't care. you know? And, yeah, so I did that morning, and I stole a vehicle out of the house. I stole a laptop and whatever else was on the counter. And, yeah, and the spree was on. That day it was like a fucking crime spree. Yeah, I took the stolen car. I went and picked up this chick that did shoplifting. You know, she'd go into like CVS and whatever, Walgreens or whatever, and steal a bunch of shit, and then go into you know, the bodega on the corner and sell the stuff. You know, and then they would sell it, you know, whatever. So, you know, we went to 2 or 3 different CVS's. You know, we filled up the car back seat with all sorts of, you know, all the stuff that's locked up now because of people like us. You know, it's like, you know, deodorants, shampoo, and, you know, baby formula, whatever we could grab, you know, whatever she grabbed. And, you know, we're talking 5-6 hours after I stole the car, after I broke into this house that now the cops are looking, right? Obviously, they're going to be looking for this car. It's like, and I'm not in another town. I'm 2 streets over from the house that I just broke into. Literally 2 streets over. And I'm sitting in the car outside this bodega that they know buys stolen shit, and the cops roll up. So I told her, I'm like, I don't stop for cops. Like, I'm not stopping. If they pull up, it's on. Like, we're in a chase. So either you get out of the car and run, or you're in for the chase. Like, that's it. So you make a decision, you know? And she was in the back seat, like outside the car, looking, like leaning into the car when the cops pulled up. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, because it's on. Like, I'm not going to stop, you know? And, you know, she stops, shuts the door, and walks away. Keeps moving. And the cop car stops, like he's supposed to do when he sees a stolen car. But they didn't do a felony stop, you know, shut the car off, put your hands where I can see him. They just ran up to my vehicle and opened up the car door. So I threw it in reverse. I hit the cop. He goes under my truck. It's a Ford. It's a Range Rover. So he goes under the truck, underneath the vehicle. I don't even care. Like, I'm just trying to get away. I hit his partner with the front bumper. He goes down. And then from that time, like, it must have been that quick. Like, he jumped up and he just started shooting. He shot like 4 or 5 times, from what I understand. And he hit me once. Went through the windshield, under my left eye, came out my ear. And when that happened, obviously everything went black. I couldn't see nothing. But I was still conscious. Like, I wasn't. So I heard the glass break. I thought it was a blackjack. You know, the cops used to carry them blackjacks and smash you in the head with it. I thought he broke the window with it to pull me out. No, that was the window shattering when the bullet went through the window. But so I put it in park, get out and try to run. And I can't see, so the cop throws me to the ground, fucking steps on my head, and he starts calling for an ambulance for a gunshot wound. And then I realize that I've been shot, and I start screaming like a little girl. I'm like, I'm dying, you know? The cop's like, shut the fuck up, you're not dying. He steps on my head. He's like pointing the gun in my face. He's like, just shut up, you're not dying. It's just so scary, man. You know, I don't care. And I know guys like, yeah, I got shot. I'm like, dude, it was scary. I thought I was going to die. I thought that was it. And all I could think about was my kids. Like, I'm never going to see them again. I'm never going to see my girl again. I'm never going to, you know, my wife, I'm never going to see her again. And it was just scary, you know?
What's that feeling of being shot? Like, do you feel it in the moment?
No.
You don't feel anything?
No.
It just happened so quick?
I mean, I didn't know that I was shot. I mean, it didn't hurt enough for me to say, oh my God, I've been shot. It was, I think the adrenaline or whatever, it just went blind. I just went blind from the whatever, the gunshot or the pressure or whatever. And when it started to clear up and you see all the blood, yeah, it's scary.
So is that normal protocol to just start shooting into a car like that?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, the year before, they had just prior to that, the Boston police had just passed a policy where they're not supposed to shoot into a moving vehicle unless they have a firearms. Unless they're, you know what I mean? Unless I have a firearms and I'm actively shooting, because they had shot into a stolen vehicle and killed a pregnant woman.
Yeah, because you could have innocent bystanders in that.
Yeah. And they weren't supposed to do that, so that's why I didn't get much time for this whole thing.
Because they made...
Yeah, so there was mistakes on everybody's side, and...
Now, granted, what you were doing was wrong. You put a cop's life in jeopardy at the same token, too. Yeah. You ran over one, but I don't know about the whole shooting into the car aspect, too. That just seems like a heavy escalation. What happened to the cop you ran over?
Nothing. Stress. That's it.
So he's okay physically?
Nothing, no physical harm, just stress, obviously. It's a stressful situation. And, a lot of people don't realize, cops don't really fire their weapon in the line of duty a lot. People so they're not really, there's a difference between shooting at a target and then shooting in a real life situation. So, it's scary. And it probably takes a toll on the body, that adrenaline and whatever. But, he was out on stress when I got, when I finally went to court and everything.
How long were you in the hospital for?
So I'm in the ambulance, and for whatever reason, I assumed that it was a 9mm cop. I don't know what, I don't know anything at that point about weapons or anything. So. And then the cop comes into the ambulance, and the ambulance driver asks him, he's like, what did you shoot him with? And he says 40. For whatever reason, that made me freak out. So I'm like, oh my God. I start throwing my hands around. I'm like, I'm dying. There's blood spraying everywhere because I'm covered. And the cop's like, the ambulance driver's like, you're not dying, just relax, whatever. So finally we get to Boston Medical Mass General Hospital, which thank God, because it's one of the best plastic surgeons, in the country. They got some of the best, and so we go to Mass General. Now I assume that we go into the emergency room, doctors are gonna come running, right, and they're gonna come and like in the movies, like get him this and we need that, and no, they wheeled me into a hallway with the cop and left me there. I was there probably for about a half hour, just sitting there bleeding, and I'm like saying to the cop, I'm like, listen, dude. I'll take anybody that works in a hospital. I don't care. Like the nurse, anybody. Like I'm scared over here, But they don't care because I just ran over one of their officers. Like they don't give a shit about me, So, yeah, I spent the night in the hospital. I was in Nashua Street the next day. Within 24 hours, I was in a lineup. Within 24 hours, I was in a lineup, and I was in county holding in Nashua Street Jail. Yeah. And after the judge said, listen, because they came and they arraigned me in the hospital bed the next morning.
Inside the bed, they arraigned you? How does that work? I haven't heard this before.
Oh, yeah. So speedy trial, you have the right to be arraigned.
Wait, but who do they bring, though?
They bring everybody. So they bring the judge, the court officers, the lawyers, everybody, the DA, everybody comes to the court. Obviously there's no citizens there.
To the hospital.
To the hospital room, yeah. So now at this point, I didn't tell you, but I still don't know what happened to the cop at this point. So as far as I know, he's dead. The cop, because I'm in Boston police custody, and they don't tell me nothing. They just keep telling me I'm going away forever. Like, you're never going to you're never going to go home. That's what they keep telling me. So because I was all on Klonopins, I was all messed up. So I don't really remember a lot of it, but they're like, you're never going home, kid. And I'm supposed to think that these guys, aren't going to lie to you. Like, you don't really know. But I'm like thinking in my head, like, I'm going away forever. And my lawyer comes in finally, because he comes with the DA and the judge and all that. So I have to see him first. And he's telling me, he's like, no. He goes, what? He goes, nah, nothing happened to him. He's fine. He goes, nah. He's like, you're fine. Relax. He goes, nobody's dead. I'm like, geez, I started crying. Because I'm like, I thought I was going away forever, And, yeah, it's the scariest thing, man. When you don't know, And, he's like, nah. He's like, nah, he's fine. He just got a scratch or something. He's fine. He's out on stress. He's good. So, so they bring the judge in. The judge sits at the bottom of my bed. The DA's over on the right side. My attorney's on my left. I have the news cameras and everything are all there because obviously it's a big story. I was all over the news for a couple days, a week, whatever. And so they do that right in the hospital bed. It's the whole court proceeding right there in the hospital bed. You plead guilty. Yeah.
Incredible. And what was your actual charge?
The assault with attempted murder on a police officer, 2 counts of that, receiving stolen property, breaking and entering. They throw everything on they can think of. Receiving stolen property, larceny under. They just throw as much as they possibly can onto you. You know what I mean?
Did they link you to the robberies earlier?
Yeah, I had the car that was from that apartment.
Okay. Oh, that was a car. That was the late Range Rover. Okay.
From 2 streets over.
Weren't the smartest criminal.
No, it's like, because I got to be close. Why would I leave that 1 mile? I gotta steal the stuff, sell it to the same store, and my drug dealer lives in that neighborhood. So why would I? You know what I mean?
So did they then connect you to the other robberies too that you did over the course of however long?
Yeah. So they knew. So they seen the girl. They knew who the girl was. They went directly to her. They knew who it was. Mm-hmm. And of course she tells them. Which they already knew everything. It's not like it was a big secret. So it's like, we so and so was with you. Lisa was with you, and we know this, that. They actually thought the girl that was with me was my wife because she had dark hair, and they knew me and her were like Bonnie and Clyde. You know what I mean? So they assumed it was her, but it wasn't her. But eventually, they caught up to her. Got the gist of it. So I got charged with that. They tried to charge me with the CVS's, the Walgreens, everything. It's like I didn't do it all, man. Calm down.
Yeah.
But.
So do you get bail after that, or they transfer you right to the county?
So I do get bail, but I'm poor. My family ain't coming, and they ain't bailing me out. And they're like, you deserve to be there. My brother said it to me. He's like, you deserve to be there. Like, what? We're not bailing you out. Like, not that they could. It was like $50,000 or something. And so you go right to jail, Nasher Street. That's like the holding, pre-trial. That's where you get before you've been there before. So a place like that, obviously.
And this is your first time ever really in jail.
Yeah, that's my first experience. I mean, I've been around the lifestyle. I know everybody, so it wasn't really scary because it was county. I mean, it's like juvie or something. It's not really bad, especially Nasher Street. It's not really that serious, So it wasn't that scary to say that, you know what I mean?
How are inmates looking at you? Are they thinking like you're a cool guy because you were in the shootout with police? Or?
Well, yeah. So you obviously, you go in there and they're like, yeah, this motherfucker just ran down 2 cops, And so you get that kind of everybody wants to hear the story. And, it's like, yeah, you tell the story or whatever. That's fine, But, so everybody wanted to know, yeah. So everybody knew who I was. But they put you right in seg. When you have a high bail in Nasher Street back then, they put you right in segregation, which is 23-hour lockdown. So my first experience of prison was 23-hour lockdown. Jail. That's what I thought all jail was.
Yeah, that's how I felt, too, when they put me in jail. I was like, this is what you got to do the whole time.
Yeah. So I was up there. And now you're up there. I was up there for 6 months, going to trial and all, in and out of court and all this stuff. But while you're still on trial, your bail's still set. So with a high bail, I can't leave. I'm stuck up there in this unit that has no rec. You get an hour rec. They want to give it to you at 2:30 in the morning. So it's like, take it and stick it up your ass. I'll stay in my cell. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you don't end up really getting any rec. You're locked in your cell all day, every day.
And are you all bandaged up too?
Yeah, I look like a giant Q-tip. You know what the fucked up part is? When I left the hospital, they brought me right from the hospital to Boston Police Headquarters in a Johnny with a Q-tip on the top. I look like a giant Q-tip, right? For a lineup. Because there was a witness that saw me coming out of the house when I broke into the house. I'm like, bro. But he was from Charlestown. So, he did the right thing. He didn't say it was me. He's like, oh, I'm not sure. But I mean, you just set me up. The person that did it got shot, and I'm sitting there with a big bandage on my head,
Yeah.
It's like they set you up to fail, It's just...
You were guilty, though.
Yeah, I was. No, granted. But, the judge said, wait till I heal up and then take him in for lineup. They took me in 30 seconds after he said it. I'm like, this is a setup. But like you said, I did it. You know what I mean? I got away with a lot more than I got caught for. So I mean, I'll take my time. You know what I mean?
How much time did they end up giving you?
So I ended up taking a bench trial.
You took a bench trial?
Everybody says that when I said that.
Dude, that's ballsy.
Right.
They didn't offer you a deal, like a good deal?
Well, no. Believe it or not, they did not offer me a deal.
You got caught in the car.
Yeah. So I mean, but this is how, you know, it just works. Living in a small town, square mile. Now, a lot of my friends, obviously criminals, they go to jail, get caught, get arrested, and a lot of them need help. So I was always willing to help out a friend. So I was always that supportive friend that was in the courtroom. So I was always the courtroom. The judge, Sullivan, knew who I was. The bailiff knew who I was. Court officers knew who I was. Everybody. So they knew who I was, but they didn't know me as a criminal. You know what I mean? They only knew me as a supportive friend that came in to help my friends that have been in trouble. You know? So when I got in trouble, a lot of them spoke up for me. You know what I mean? The judge, and they kept it in district. They didn't indict me, which is, they could have indicted me and gave me 20 years for trying to kill a cop, you know? But where everybody knew me in the courthouse, they kept it in county, and I ended up getting 2 years.
That's it?
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, 2 years.
Wow.
You know, so I did 2 years in county. I did in South Bay, which is one of the worst. I don't care what anybody says. It was worse than state prison. They're brutal in there. It's brutal.
Describe what it's like.
So the units are 180 convicts on a unit, 2 cops. So you're talking, what's the ratio? Like, there's nothing. You know what I mean? There's no help. You know what I mean? So if something goes down, you either defend yourself or have some friends that are going to help you. You know what I mean? And that's just how it is. It's 180 guys in a block is a lot of guys.
How often is something going down?
Every day. I mean, I seen people get. I mean, not to the extent where the cops get involved, but I've seen people fight on a daily basis over nothing, over a shower, over just looking the wrong way. You know, it's crazy. Using the wrong phone. You know what I mean? Like, are you serious? It's just like, you don't want to live like that.
How long did it take for you to adjust to like the politics of it and the rules that inmates create?
Well, like I said, I went to segregation. So when I first got there, I was 6 months. I went to the 8th floor. It's not considered completely segregation because it's 2-man cells. So my first experience, I walked in and I saw this big black guy. I forget his name. He was a sweetheart, right? Jacked. Just did 7 years in county, 2.5 sentences on and after. It was crazy. And the first thing he says, he's like, "You work out?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "You do now." I'm like, "All right," you know. Like, this guy was so big. Like, he used to work out. He used to work out his neck. Like, he'd put books on his head and like, it's just crazy. But so I was up there for 6 months. After the 6 months, they let me into population. That's the 180 units, you know. I was there for 3 weeks before I got put back in segregation for a fight. So I was there for 3 weeks, you know. And when you when you go to population in county in South Bay, usually it's segregated. I mean, that's just how it is. Not to the point where you don't talk to, like, you. I dealt with everybody. We were friends with everybody. Everybody was friendly. Everybody got along. But when it got down to business, it was just segregated. That's just the way it is. So when you walk on the block, the first thing that happens is usually 90% of the time is you'll get a package like shower shoes, soap, deodorant, coffee, creamer, whatever you need to just get you started from the white guys. You know, they'll take care of you. You know, towel, shower shoes, stuff that you have to buy that the state doesn't give you. You know, to get the good stuff, you know. But, yeah, after that, you get that. Then, you know, obviously when you get on your feet, you kick into the kitty, you know, for the next guy, you know. But, yeah, it's just how it is, you know.
And what was your fight over?
Something stupid, like it always is. So in there, in state prison, you sit wherever you sit at certain tables. You know how that goes. That's in the feds too, whatever. But in county, you eat on your block. So what happens is they call the cells. They'll crack your cell. You get in line. You don't cut line. You get in line and you where you get in is where you sit. So it was Fish Friday. I don't know. You get
we had Fish Friday too. Every Friday.
That's state prison, Fish Friday.
Yeah.
That's because kosher and all that stuff, or whatever. So that, don't eat meat on Friday stuff. So anyway, so you eat fish on Friday. So I ended up sitting across from this dude that refused. I've had conversations with him more than once about chewing with his mouth closed. And it's like, it just takes having a bad day. You know what I mean? It just takes me, someone looking at me the wrong way that for this guy to chew with his mouth open and me want to slap him. So I says, hey, dude, chew with your fucking mouth closed, dude. We're not going to have this conversation again. And he said some slick shit out of his mouth and I just get up and hit him. It really wasn't a fight. He was a small kid, I felt like a bully after. He went down and that was it. It wasn't really a fight. I got lugged back to the hole and I spent another 6 months there. You know what I mean? So I spent almost 13 months in segregation when I first got there.
When you got back out, did you run back into him?
I did see him again. And I did apologize. And he was kind of like, fuck you. Which was, I understand completely, but I did apologize to him. I saw him in medical because I used to have to go to medical all the time for my head, and yeah.
Were they giving you medication for your head injury?
Yeah, I was getting some pain medication.
How did that affect your addiction issues that were going on?
So, yeah, that's a good question because when I first went to prison, obviously they don't give you anything. And when I went to jail, they don't give you nothing. They don't give you Suboxone. They don't give you anything. You cold turkey. Suck it up, bitch. Keep moving. And, so they didn't give me anything, but they had to give me pain medication for my head because I had a lot of nerve damage and stuff. Like, I'm blind in my left eye. Like, I can't see that.
Well, you're completely blind?
Yeah. Like, I can see light. That's it. And my eye socket's titanium. My cheekbone's titanium.
Wow.
All that, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, they had to give me pain medication. So, but when I was getting close to the end of my sentence, I took myself off of it because I really wanted to do the right thing, because I thought, and I meant it every time I said it, this was the time, like if this doesn't change it, like what's going to? Like if this doesn't make me better, like if I can't take this as a learning experience and do better, like what good are you? Like really you can't take this and go forward from that? And yeah, no, I couldn't. Like that's just not my story. Like I had to keep pushing. You know what I mean? So yeah, so I get out and kept going. Like I just didn't stop. I just kept going, and it just got worse.
Why do you think that wasn't a deterrent, that first prison bid?
I don't, because it wasn't that bad.
Really, getting shot in the head by the cops and
was
going
bad.
to jail?
No, that was bad. You know what?
Yeah.
That was bad. Getting shot. But in my opinion, in my head, I was gonna be like, dude, you kidding me? I'm gonna get out, and all the chicks are gonna be like, look at this dude with the sky. That's not the case. You're a loser, dude. You ran down 2 cops. You're a complete loser at this point in your life. You have nothing to offer anybody. Nobody. Like, why would you? That dumb? Like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kept pushing the envelope. Like
How old were you when you got out?
I want to say I was 25, I think. I want to say 25, 26, I think. No, wait a minute. I got shot when I was 26 years old when I got shot. I got out a year and a half after that, so I was probably like closer to 28 when I got out. The county.
What was your plan once you got out?
Oh, I was going to start my own business. I was going to be a business mogul. I was going to be rich. I was going to own my own construction company, and I was going to, you know what I mean? Like, I was going to do a demo company, and that's what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just didn't put the work in. If you don't put the work in, it's not going to happen, So I went the easy route. I went back to doing what I did. I would roof and do, roofing and stuff, and then I would just sell drugs and do drugs. That's it. And save absolutely nothing.
So you had almost nearly another 15-year run after that first sentence.
Yeah.
Of just, drugs,
yes.
Addiction.
Yep.
Were you continuously getting arrested?
I would get arrested here and there, for like stupid things. Here and there I get arrested for stupid things, but nothing ever really. I was on probation the whole entire time. I was like, you never get off.
Never-ending trap.
Yeah, exactly. So I tell everybody. My son-in-law, his brother, you know, God bless him. His name is Jason, and he's doing really good. He's in a program now, and I'm super proud of him. And I told him, take the time. I'm like, don't fuck around. Just take the time. I was like, take 6 months right now. Go to court. Tell them you take 6 months, and then take all the time for all your cases and run them concurrent. I'm like, do not take probation unless you are serious. You know what I mean? Because the reality is you're going to be on probation the rest of your life. You know, I mean, you're not on probation.
No, I got off in 2022, but it's scary having that over your head.
Because you don't need a reason. They don't need a reason. They can just come in here and you can say something that they don't like, and they can lock you up.
Yeah, and it's your word against theirs, and it's just there's no judge. In these probation things. Yeah. Well, I mean, there is a judge, but there's no, like, jury.
Yeah, there's no wrong reason. Like, the judge isn't going to say, oh, well, no, that's a dumb reason. No, he's going to go with the PO 90% of the time.
I mean, I think that's one of the flaws, too. There should be, like, stages to it. Like, if you get a prison sentence, I think if you go through a process of rehabilitation or reentry in prison, you shouldn't then be attached with the probation. You should use your time in prison as like the probation. They check the boxes, everything's good, then you get out and then you're free.
Yes.
I don't know if obviously you need supervision for some of like these sex offender cases or certain cases like that. Yes. But if you're going to prison for something that was related to a drug crime or anything like that, it should just maybe mandatory counseling or something. But the excessive probation, you did your time. It should be done there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, parole is okay. I understand parole as far as that goes, but the probation, man, take your time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's scary, you know, it's scary, and especially it's for someone that's never done any time, and it's like nobody wants to go to jail.
Yeah, because it's not a 3-year sentence isn't really a 3-year sentence when you add the probation, the pre-trial and all that. That should all be accounted for.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're doing fucking life on installment plans. You know what I mean? That's what my father said. He's like, what are you trying to do? You trying to do life installment plans? Like, I don't understand, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 15 years of in and out of drug treatment programs. I had 2 more kids, obviously. You know, I had my son, Dylan, he's 20. And then I had, you know, so I got Kelsey, who was 29. She's the matriarch of the family. She runs this family. If it wasn't for her, I don't know where I'd be. And it's, you know, it's scary, but yeah, my 16-year-old daughter saved our family, you know? And yeah, she was there. She took care of me while I was in prison. She took care of my kids while I was in prison too. And yeah, 15 years of drugs and just in and out of detox, yeah.
Was that 2 years your longest sentence?
Up to that point, yeah, it was my first sentence. My first sentence was 2 years. Everybody else gets 6 months, 30 days. I get 2 years. I don't.
And the other times you got arrested, you never did any serious time?
I continued without a fine, and I got a couple of, you know, receiving stolen property. I embezzled some money out of a store I worked for. Yeah, I mean, I just did every petty crime you could think of, armed robberies. I just did everything, you know.
You're a career convict.
Yeah, like I'll give you an example. The corner store in my own neighborhood. Yeah, like why not? Shit where you eat. So I'm sick. This is before I went to jail. I took my buddy. We're both sick, so I decided I'm gonna rob this store that I go to every day. The same store I go every day to get soda and candy, ice cream, whatever. I'm gonna rob that store. So I go in to rob the store, and you know I go in with the pistol. I go in. It's covered in plexiglass, right? Except for a little slot. So I think I'm gonna stick the pistol in there. I'm gonna tell him, give me the money. Give me the money. I'm gonna leave. Easy. Don't fuck around. She picks up the stool, proceeds to hit me. The hand with the gun, hit me with a stool, and tell me to get out. So I'm like, this fucking bitch. So I think in my head that I'm going to kick this plexiglass door and kick it in. So I kick it. This thing bounces back so fast, it throws me to the ground. I'm on the floor, drop the gun, right? So now I can't get in. Now I'm leaving with my tail between my legs. I run out of the store, drop the gun, kick it under the car, this car that I'm running on. So now I'm not only running from a store that I didn't get no money in, I'm climbing under a car to get a gun that I just dropped and kicked to run into my buddy's house where they can see from the store what building I'm running into. I don't know how I didn't get arrested. You know what I mean? And then I go up there and tell them, yeah, I did it, but I didn't get no money. You know, it just happened. That's just the life of like just being a dirtbag, you know?
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Aren't you glad you've gotten through those days?
Oh, God. I mean,
when you look back on and reflect on like some of the crazy shit we do during our rock bottom moments, you know, you laugh about it now, but it's crazy to see like how far the growth is. You know, I think about some of the shit I did during those moments. Yeah.
I mean, it got where you went.
It was all a buildup, you know. It was all life experience, and it taught me, and it makes you think now more than anything about consequences and actions, and everything has a consequence directly, whether it's a positive one or a negative one. Yeah,
and it makes you the person you are. I mean, I'm grateful for the man I am today, you know, and but like. I mean, after them 15 years, once I finally, I mean, that didn't end. Like, I went, the last thing, so what brought me to state prison, I followed a chick. You know what I mean? I met a girl in detox. Why wouldn't you? You know, I met a girl in detox, and I was like, ooh, she's going to save me. So I moved to Taunton. You know what I mean? I forget how old I was. Probably 10. 15. Yeah, it was right after, probably in my 30s, young 31 or something. So I moved to Taunton and with her. We're doing good. I'm sober a year. My kids are coming up to visit me, you know, my two oldest ones, you know, coming to visit me. We're doing good. And I'm working. And for whatever reason, it just took one person. Like, I wasn't talking to anybody doing drugs. It just took one person that I saw that was fucked up that I was working with. And of course, why wouldn't I want to talk to that person, you know? And it just went downhill from there. I started using again in Taunton. My girlfriend found me OD'd in my bedroom. I mean, in my house. She was supposed to go to the gym. She wanted to get a couple bananas for after the gym or whatever. So she stopped at the house, and if she didn't, I'd probably be dead. She opened up the front door, and I'm on the floor. She couldn't even open the door. I'm dead in the kitchen, you know? And, I went to fucking the hospital, you know, and scary.
Is that what finally took for you to get clean after that incident? No, not even.
Not even close.
So what was
that? That wasn't the first time I OD'd. I've OD'd multiple times. So anyways, let me let's push this a little bit further. So anyways, so we're doing good. I start using. I decide to do a robbery. I take a bunch of Klonopins and do a bunch of dope. Now, we have her father's vehicle. He gave it to us as a car because we were doing good, and it's registered. Sorry, it's registered in Revere, Mass. Okay, I'm in Taunton, which is an hour away. So in my head, I'm thinking if they do run the plate for whatever reason, they're not going to get to my house yet because they're going to get a Revere address. So I do a robbery at the Family Dollar. So I decided to rob the Family Dollar that my girlfriend worked at. Right, I just can't get away from like the stupidity.
You love your robberies,
right? And so I go in the store and I got the knife. I got this mask over my face, and I run up to the girl in the register. She starts screaming, and I'm like, "Open the safe!" Right? Of course, my girl didn't tell me this. It's on a time thing, so they put in the code, and you have to wait 10 minutes before it'll open. Right? So she starts screaming. She tries to run. So I grab her hand, and I got the knife, but I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm not that type of person. Like, unless I have to, I don't want to hurt nobody, you know, unless I'm defending. So I grab her hand, but I got the knife over here. Well, I grab it like this, and I got my hand over, and her screaming. I guess there was a guy in the store. This guy, he looked like the Incredible Hulk. He was so big. He was running down the aisle, knocking down displays. This is how big this guy was. And in my head, this is how sick I was. I was thinking in my head, I'm going to stab him, right? And then I'm going to have to kill this girl, right? Like, this is how sick you think. This flashes in your head. And when I decide to run, I stab the counter and it breaks the knife. So now I got a handle in my hand with no knife, and I run, right? I run out the store. I told my girl to park the car and just stay right where I parked. She parked it facing a brick wall. So this guy's chasing me. He pulls out. She pulls out, almost hits him. The license plate almost hit him in the forehead. Like, he couldn't have got any closer to our plate. She drives away. We throw all the shit out the window. We go to our house. I drive by. I don't see anybody. The cops been watching me for weeks. I've been running around this neighborhood getting high, fucked up for weeks. They know my car. I pull in front of my house, 4 cruisers rip up. They pull me. I tell her, I was like, don't say nothing. I was like, don't say nothing. You didn't know nothing. Just keep your mouth shut. I'll take care of it, you know? And we go to the police station. And, yeah, she's crying. She's in her pajamas because she thought we were going to be getting high. We weren't getting caught. Why would she get dressed, right? So we're in the police station. She's crying. And the cop's like, look at what you did to her. You did that. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's fucking, that fucking went to CVS, whatever. And he's like, come on, dude. He's like, we know you did it. He's like, you really gonna let her take the fall? You're gonna take her down with you? So I confessed. I broke down and told him everything. I said, turn the camera on. But the cop kept his word. He goes, listen, he goes, if you do the right thing, he goes, we'll do the right thing. He goes, we'll drop all the charges to accessory after. She said she'll get probation. She goes, nothing will happen to her. She'll go home tonight. I was like, all right. So I just told him everything. My kids hate me for it, but I told them everything. I probably would have did it with a guy. If me and you got caught, if I could have took the rap or you could have, like one of us, I would have did the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I took the hit. I told her before we did it, I said, if I get caught, I'm getting 5 years, just so you know. She's like, nah, you're not going to get 5 years. I'm like, yeah, that's like minimum, I think, you know? And I got caught, went to fucking Dartmouth.
And they gave you 5 years for that.
Yeah, well, so we go to court. We go to court, you know, and I'm in fucking Ash Street, fucking jail, the worst fucking prison in county jail in Massachusetts state, oldest one. It's terrible, like the old Alcatraz type shit, like bars, brick walls. It's terrible. So yeah, we go to trial, and we go to court or whatever. And now I call my lawyer like 2 months in. I says, so what's up? I go, they making me any offers? He goes, yeah, they offered you a 2 to 4. I was like, oh, sold. Call him back up. I'll take that right now. Let's get this party started. Like, I'm good. I'll take that. I already got 6 months in. You know what I mean? I'll be out here in fucking a year. I call my kids. I tell my daughter, I'm gonna be home 18 months max. This is great. So I go to court like a couple weeks later. And now I think I'm pleading out today. Like, I'm I go in there, my lawyer's behind the glass. He comes in, he says to me, he goes, yeah, so he's like, they're offering you 4 to 5. No. He said, they're offering you a 5 to 7. That's what he said. I was like, a fucking 5 to 7? I was like, you just told me they offered me 2 to 4. He's like, oh, he goes, no, that was another client. Dude, I smashed my head on the counter. I says, I'm going to be honest with you, you're lucky there's glass here. I was like, because I just told my family that I'm coming home in 18 months. And he's like, oh, just tell them it's my fault. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's going to make everything better. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have any concept. They think it's just numbers. It's like, no, I got to do that time, you know? So we went in with a plea agreement. Unagreed upon plea. Meaning, like, we agree that I'm guilty, but he wants 5 to 7. I want 3 and we asked for the 2 to 4. And the judge is like, listen, I'm not giving you 2 to 4, but I fucking sure as hell ain't giving him a 5 to 7. He goes, I'll give you 3. He's like 3.5 to 5. So I ended up doing 3.5, a little more than 3.5 years in state prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you came in prepared this time because of your first bid. Right.
So I knew. And while I was in county, I just happened to have my bunkie was a state prison inmate. And before, he had just got out and he just got locked up again. Yeah, surprise. But he told me what to expect. So I knew to ask about, the court fees and all that stuff because I got no money. So if you go in court fees, they take that out of your canteen right off the rip. So if my 17-year-old daughter's sending me money, they're going to take that. So we got it to, I'll pay it when I get out of prison, So, yeah, I ended up getting there. I went to Walpole in Massachusetts and, classification. A lot of fun there. But, yeah, and that's where it started. And even that didn't, I lost my wife when I was in prison. Like, my kid's mother, That's one of the deaths. I lost my wife while I was in prison.
Oh, she passed away.
She OD'd while I was in prison.
Oh, so she ended up getting onto drugs at some point.
Yeah, we both got hooked on drugs, both. And while I was in prison, she died while I was in prison. Yep. It was the worst experience ever. Because you can't tell anybody because they lock you up and put you in a fucking turtle suit in the fucking Johnny and watch you for death, the suicide watch from, you lose all your classification, it fucks you.
If you say you're struggling with your mental health.
Right, because they didn't know who she was to me because we weren't married. So they come in and they're like, hey, your buddy Mike called, the caseworker. He's like, yeah. He goes, yeah, he said a friend of yours, Cindy, passed away. I was like, yeah. I was like, okay. And I just walked away. And now I'm starting to break down because we were together forever. Since we were teenage kids, we were together. And, and then he calls me back to tell me something else. And now I'm a mess. And I'm trying to clear up before I get up to him because I don't want to get pulled out of here. I'm already getting ready to go home and, get a move to a minimum security prison. I don't want to get this, fuck this moves up. But yeah, so, I lost her when I was away. And, did 3.5 years. And it was long. 3.5 years is a long time. When you ain't, when you're in fucking prison.
How did that second sentence compare to the first one?
Well, it was scarier because I was in the because it's prison, You hear the stories, you got your friends that have been there, and actually most of my friends have never been actually to prison. They've been to county, but not prison, so they don't really know. But, you think you're going to go in there and some dude's going to be like, yeah, you run with us now, you're scared to chow hall. Where do you sit? What do I do? You know what I mean? You don't want to sit in the wrong chair. You don't want to go into the chow the first day in the chow. That was the scariest thing, and the whole thing was the chow hall. Imagine that, that. I wasn't worried about someone fighting, and I was worried about going in the chow hall and sitting in the wrong table. Mm-hmm. But I had known Charlestown. I know it's only a square mile, but we have our own table in state prison, and I was like, hey, where's the Charlestown table? You know what I mean? Obviously, other people sit there because there's 12 or 16 seats at the table, and there's only 3 of us. So, there'll be Somerville kids, Everett kids, whatever, whoever's, white guys that sit at the table. So I end up going there, and this kid from Kentucky was sitting there, or Kansas, I forget. And he's like, this is the Charlestown table. He's like, but I don't think there's any seats. I'm like, what are you talking? I'm like, you're from Kansas, dude. That's my seat. That, I'm from Charleston. You know what I mean? That's the mentality. You get right into that, who the fuck do you think? I'm ready to fight this kid over a fucking chair, that it means nothing, Yeah. But, so that was the scariest part because I didn't want to sit in the wrong chair, and get fucking, my head split open. Some dude's been sitting there 30 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, as soon as you get back in that environment, your mind switches to, inmate mode and convict mode and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I just kept my head down and, did my time.
Did your mentality change that second sentence?
I did everything I could to learn, I did the violence reduction because most of my record is violence. A lot of drugs, but I have a bad temper and I just, I haven't in years, thank God. Now my daughter yells at me all the time. She's like, are you going to let him? She gets mad. I'm like, just forget about it. It's not that serious, She doesn't, because I've lived in the life of how serious it can be. You know what I mean? And someone cutting me off with a cart in a store, or making an offside comment to me is not serious enough for me to come out of character and get crazy again like I used to. You know what I mean?
That's very powerful. Not everything needs a response and a reaction.
There you go.
You don't always need the last word. Let it be. I think letting it be has more power than anything if you don't let it get to you. No. And you also never know what someone else is going through that day.
Yeah.
That person that person that didn't hold the door open for you, or slammed a car or anything. You don't know, know. So we just got to be a little bit more kinder and conscious of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I came out, but I still didn't learn. You know what I mean? I was still messing around. I still had, so when I got sentenced, I had 2 sentences. I had a probation, obviously, consecutive. So I had the the sentence I did the time for, and then once I get out, the probation for the second charge. I think it was some stupid charge I had, like, carried 5 years. So they had me on probation for another 3 years and holding 5 years over my head after I got out. But I still got fucked up. I still went out and got high and kept going and just kept pushing, you know. OD'd once, twice, you know, and it just kept getting worse. Like, it just didn't get better. I don't know why, obviously, right? Why would I think it would get better? But yeah, so I just kept using, getting fucked up. And the turning moment was in, I lost my daughter. She OD'd in 2018. Yeah, that's the worst. And then I OD'd 2 days after. So, you know.
I'm sorry for your loss, man.
Thank you. Yeah, so after my kids lose their sister, you know, I go and get high and OD in the bathroom 2 days after we're trying to figure out where we're going to bury our daughter. Well, my daughter, you know, their sister, you know. And I'm in the bathroom on the floor dead. You know what I mean? It's like the worst. And I just got up when my neighbor, you know, Vick, she saved my life. She, you know, gave me CPR, woke me up, and all I could think about is my daughter Kelsey and what I just did, you know. I just get up and ran. I just get up. Ambulance driver, like, didn't even get there yet. She woke me up, and I get up, and I just took off, you know, and I ran. And, yeah, that was the worst, you know, because not only losing her, but then putting them through that, you know what I mean, possibly losing me. The last person that they got left, it's like, yeah, that was the last time that I used was on that day.
Was that the oldest sister that passed?
There was the youngest sister.
Oh, that was the youngest.
Yeah, she was a month before her 21st birthday. Wow. She couldn't wait, yeah. And my oldest daughter found her, and to hear her scream, it's the worst feeling ever, you know? But yeah. Do
your other kids put any blame on you towards it?
No. I'm sure there's blame to go around, you know what I mean? I'm definitely, you know what I mean? Like I said, that father figure, you know what I mean? If I had been there to teach her, you know, and not show her, you know what I mean? Because I always say that, like, they learn from what they see, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got a kid that grew up in the projects and that's all they know. They think a project apartment's where it's at. Mm-hmm. But when you got a kid that grew up in a house, and if parents are together and they worked all the time, like, their mentality is, I'm going to buy a house and get a family. Like, that's just the mentality, you know? So when you show them that, you know, the only life that they knew was what, you know, the fucked up life that I had shown them, like, it's hard to prosper from that, you know what I mean?
How do you make up for all those years you lost being a father?
Well,
now that you're sober and clean and trying to work hard to rebuild your life.
Yeah. They come first no matter what. You know what I mean? I give my daughter, Kelsey, you know, they say I spoil them, but, you know, she asks me for anything. I'll do anything I possibly can to get whatever she needs. It doesn't, she's going to be getting married. She's got a husband. No, they're not married, but, you know, he takes very good care of her, you know, and I mean, she doesn't need me to take care of her, but she knows that I'm there, and all my kids know that I'm there, you know, that if they need me, I'll be there, you know what I mean? Now they can count on that, you know, and my youngest, like, she really doesn't remember any of that. She don't remember, like, she didn't know me, like, using drugs and all that stuff. My grandsons don't know that. I have 2 grandsons, and they don't know that. Mm-hmm. So if I can keep that going, you know, that's the life I want them to know, you know?
What advice would you give to someone that is in the position you used to be in?
I just ask for help. It's the hardest thing in the world to do it by yourself. I mean, AA and NA and AA aren't a huge part of my story as far as, you know, now, but it was one of the, you know, places I felt most comfortable, you know what I mean, and reach out and get help because it's there, you know what I mean. You got it here. I mean, you're helping people. Everybody. I mean, the help is out there if you want it. I just never wanted it. You know what I mean. I thought I did, and I meant it when I said it, but I never really did the work to get to where I wanted to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. And now it's like, now that's just the main thing. And anything I do or anywhere I go, it's do they need anything first? Am I doing anything with them first? Like if I want to do something, I have to check with her first because she might need me to babysit. She might need me to bring her somewhere or something because that's my responsibility now because I left it up to her for so long that now I need her to understand that I'm here, that she can take her foot off the gas, you know what I mean? And I can take over a little bit, you know what I mean? So.
And she's with you here today.
Well, that's the youngest. Yeah. That's my youngest. But my oldest is the one that she just held the family together.
Yeah.
And I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah.
And my brother too. My brother Henry, he actually has a production company too, Henry Paquin Productions.
What does he do?
He does it's a little off subject, but he actually does a production company. What he does is he puts on shows at local bars, like drag queen shows.
Oh, that's fun.
So that's a good time, dude. They're out of their minds,
yeah.
But it's a good time, and he does very well at it.
Those are like brunch shows, right? Like during the day
there you
and
go,
stuff.
Yeah,
they
drag
do those
queen
in
French.
Connecticut.
Yeah, he's honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. He started this years ago, and he's one of the biggest shows in Boston. He's huge.
Cool.
Yeah. Everybody knows about him. Yeah,
Did you tell him you were coming on the podcast today?
I did. I said I would bring him up. because
awesome, man.
Yeah, because he's great.
Well, what's the name of his company? Can
Henry
people
Paquin Henry Paquin Productions. Yeah,
he has a website. Is that what it
Instagram.
is?
Yeah,
okay.
He's on Instagram. You find you type in that name, he's there.
Cool.
Yeah,
man.
he's great. He's he's been there for me too. You know, we had a rocky past, but now we go on vacations together. He's one of my best friends.
That's awesome.
It's great. And he's my younger brother, and I look up to him every day, man. He's just a great man.
Do you have a business now, or are you working
No,
towards that?
I just work. I'm just trying to work and just trying to... my plan is I just want to die. If I can just die with, a place for my kids to call home. I just want a house up in New Hampshire, in the country, a little bit of land that all my kids have access to for the rest of their life because I want them to be able to go out and do whatever they want and not worry about having nowhere to go. You know what I mean? Because you're always worried, like, if I go, New York and try something, like, I might not have nowhere to come home to. I just want them to be able to go out and do whatever they want to do and then have a safe place to come home,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for trusting me to share your story today.
Thank you.
And thanks for making the trip out here. And this is a great episode. And, I'm sorry for your loss and tragedy you've experienced. But, hopefully it's a powerful lesson to those that are listening and watching and a message of hope as well too.
Thank you.
And sometimes people need to hear those deep, bad, tragic moments because that can inspire them to change their life too.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. Mm-hmm. You always talk about those the Ripper glasses.
The Chomo glasses?
Yeah. I got a story. So when I first got locked up, I had long hair because I couldn't because of the stitches.
Oh, man.
And I had those big square glasses.
They thought you were a chomo?
My buddy I knew for years, John, he comes into segregation. He sees me in the window. I knock on the window, and he's like, gives me a dirty look. So I come out of the cell, and I say to him, I say, hey, what's up? I'm like, what's with the dirty? He goes, you look like a fucking child molester. I was like, hey. It's like, those glasses, you can't, no matter what, man.
Even those, if you walked into a prison now, they're going to probably put you as a chomo. And you got a little bald right up here at the forehead. They're putting you as a chomo and a scruffy beard, man.
Yeah, that's what I had. I had the whole beard.
Yeah.
My hair was long. It was crazy.
Yep, you're a chomo, man. They got you dead to rights right there. That's awesome, man.
God.
Everyone loves the chomo stories, man. There's something about it, whatever it is, it just... They always do so well.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Who would have thought? But man, thanks again and safe travels back. And hopefully your assistant out there was happy with the episode.
Yeah.
We'll get her opinion on it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.